The NBA playoffs have officially started, and I'm super excited to get things going. Talking about all of the games that happen, giving my opinions, and sharing it with people that don't mind hearing what I have to say. In today's games, they started off pretty good, the first two games, but the last two games started off pretty meh. But that's fine. Not every series is going to be great. Not every game is going to be great. But the ones that were great were great. The ones that weren't. Let's get into it. Real quick before we get into the topics of NBA and stuff, I have to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel. For me, it helps grow the channel. If you subscribe and leave a like. I'm trying to build something great over here, and we cannot do that without your help. If you're doing it right here, my name is Rob. I come on this thing, and I'll come on this app, and I just share my opinions on sports. Whether they're right or wrong, if they make sense or don't make sense, I basically just say whatever comes to the top of my head after watching the games, and that's what I'm finna do right now. Subscribe. Now, starting off with game one, the game that started at 10 o'clock, which made me have to wake up early on the weekend. Started at 10 o'clock for me. I live on the PST time, Pacific Standard Time. Yes, the Jazz versus the Dallas Mavericks. Wasn't a high expectation game for me. I kind of figured who was going to win game one at least. But it was a very exciting game to watch because it was a battle. It was a battle to the end, to that fourth quarter. But the team with the more stars kind of won the game, which is predicted. Donovan Mitchell had a hell of a second half. Even when he struggled in the first half, he did his thing. Him and the team rallied together in that second half and won the game. Took it away from the Mavs. Just took control of it. Dallas did a good job, though. I respect their fight. They fought in the beginning. They come out with the first point. Jalen Brunson spins. Reggie Bullock. Is it Bullock or Bullock? I honestly do not know. Oh my god. But Reggie, Dorian Finney-Smith, they came out swinging, boxing with the Utah Jazz, and I believe they did a good job. It's just hard without Luka, obviously. When you have that All-NBA player, that superstar player that's just not there, who your team is built around to succeed with, it's gonna be hard to replicate what he brings. But like I said, they fought, and I'm expecting them to fight in game two if Luka's out again. It's gonna be a home game, and I just expect them to give their best punch every night at least against the Jazz, and I expect the Jazz to come out and win the games that Luka isn't there. So if Luka's out all series, it should be a sweep. If he's not, they need to win the games that he isn't there. Like I said, though, Donovan had a good game. I think he had 32. He started off tough. First game, they haven't played in a while, so of course it makes sense for him to kind of start off rough. But once he started going, he became unguardable once again and took over the game. Anything else really to mention that game? No. Maybe. But, that would be dragging it. So I'm just going to move on to the next team. The next game, which was my favorite game of the day, and it was the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Probably the game of the night, and what people have voted, is the series of the is it the series of the month? Not the month, but the best series for the first round to be. Which out of all the series that would be the best series, people are voting that would probably be the best series. And I'm all with it. After game one, how could you not pick them? It was an explosive game from both teams. A lot of defense. No, not a lot of defense, but a lot of defensive moments between both teams. And also just great offense that we saw from the likes of Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant, and just team camaraderie. Oh, we in the dictionary with it. Team camaraderie. How they work together, even when not everyone was hitting D'Lo for the Timberwolves wasn't hitting like that tonight, but they still managed to work together on both sides of the floor and pull out the win for themselves to take game one. Memphis, although they struggled, it's only game one, right? Just need a little bit more help from the Dillon Brooks of the world. The Jaren Jackson to hit a couple of shots. He can't really be going 0 for 5 and stuff like that. You need some help from him. And they kind of saw a problem tonight with the likes of Steven Adams, not in the sense of he's just out there being weak, but he's just out there doing nothing. Since he's out there in the out in the three-pointer, he's not really getting many rebounds, having the offensive rebound impact that he usually has throughout the regular season and when going against the inside big. So when he has to guard Cat, and Cat's usually around the perimeter, it's going to be hard for him to really put a stamp on his impact on the game. Of course, offensively, he could run around, set the screens for his players. He do that fine. That's not the problem. The problem with them was specifically defense. And the what's their names? The Minnesota Grizzlies started to take advantage of that, get into the paint a lot throughout the game. Driving, Ant was driving, Malik was driving, D'Lo would drive, but it wouldn't be successful. But they were doing the right things, and so yeah, Memphis may have to, make some adjustments to that. Maybe not play Steven Adams so much. I don't really think they have anybody to replace him unless you're looking at putting Jaren at the 5 and going small with Brandon Clark, which would be interesting if they were to take that step. But I think that's more of like a lose the first 2 games kind of move, not a necessarily game 2 adjustment. But what do I know? I'm not no freaking coach, Shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They came out, like I said, strong, better than when they came out with against the Clippers. And they executed, It was very exciting to see them win. Me and Yates, if you know him on the channel, we have a bet, $10 bet for who will win. He picked the Memphis Grizzlies. I picked the Timberwolves because my guy D-Lo's over there. So it's a fun little bet we got. It's going to be exciting to see who wins. I really do think the Minnesota Timberwolves can win this series because I think they can match. They match well against the Minnesota Timberwolves, So that's going to be lit. Honestly, for all these games, I'm not going to come over here overreacting to stuff, being like, oh, this is why they're going to lose the series. No, I'm not going to do that, bro. I'm just going to give my opinions on what I thought and what I saw in the game 1s, and that's it, So moving on to the game 3, which was the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Toronto Raptors. With this series, I'm pretty sure this might be the only series I may overreact to out of all the games I talked about, but I just don't think, after watching game 1, I don't believe that the Toronto Raptors really match well against the 76ers. Yeah, they have the length and stuff, but they don't have the size necessarily to really impact Joel Embiid like you need to. Like, you need that kind of Anthony Davis kind of player, or that Rudy Gobert type of player, just somebody big enough to at least affect him. I like Precious Achiuwa, I like Pascal Siakam, but those players are like, Pascal's like what, 6'8", Precious is like 6'8". We have a 7-foot 300-pound player who can put the ball on the floor like a guard, and you're asking them to guard that, and you're asking Pascal to guard him and play offense at the same time, do his offensive work. That's a tall task. That's a tall glass of what they like to say of milk you gotta drink, So this is the only series where I'm like, man, that sucks. I don't really expect them. I mean they may win a game when they're home, but at least the games in Philly, I don't expect the Raptors to win. They just don't have it. They also don't have the depth. Unfortunately, we gotta mention that Scotty tweaked his ankle he got an ankle injury to start off. That was super unfortunate and nasty to see. Nobody wants to see that at all. I saw somebody on Twitter try to be like, they did like a Joel Embiid, what he did tonight, and they listed all the players that got injured. Thaddeus Young, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, and I believe there was one more person. Sorry, I forgot his name, but I'm like, yeah, but can we not do that? Because you're making it seem like he did all those stuff intentionally, and I don't believe no one, at least 99% of the league, 99% of the players in the league don't intentionally try to go out and injure somebody. That's just a mental thing that I don't think no player really has. So to try to put that narrative out there is just weird. Mind you, the person was like a Suns fan. I mean, a Raptors fan. So I don't really take his opinion like heavily or anything. But the Raptors, I was saying the only way I think they can truly make this series competitive if they become the best 3-point shooting team we've ever seen, just like back in I think the Jazz did it, or like the Rockets, back in the playoffs in the couple years ago for the Jazz and a couple years ago for the Rockets. They just have to hit their shots. They have to hit their shots because they're not going to compete in the inside when you got Joel Embiid going there to the free throw line. You know, you're just not going to compete there. But if you guys can hit their shots consistently, I'm talking hitting all the open shots, the Gary Trent Jr. open shots, the Fred VanVleets, the Pascal, Precious. If you're going to shoot that three, you got to make them threes in them corners. Like, you got to execute the game at a high level if you guys really think you're going to be able to win the game, you know. And I don't know if they will. Yeah. Shout out to James Harden. I think James Harden played well. Let me look at my man's numbers real quick. You know, James Harden finished with 22. Shout out to him. 22 and 14 assists. Shout out to him. That seemed like a James Harden game to play when he's playing with the likes of Joel Embiid. But I think the highlight player of today's game is the Maxey himself, bro. Everybody knows this Maxey. He's probably one of the thumbnails of this video. He played like the third star. He was out there hooping. I mean, there wasn't a shot he couldn't make. He was out there looking like I always say it for every player, but he was out there looking like high. Like, he was making his mid ranges, he was making his threes, getting to the rim. He was just doing everything you needed from the third player on your team, you know. And the team together just played well. The ball was moving. It wasn't very stagnant. It was just a very good game for the Philadelphia 76ers. Shout out to them boys. But we're going to move on to the last game of the evening, which was probably it was more exciting than the game I just talked about, and it's the Golden State Warriors versus the Nuggets. This game was truly like, it was, I don't know the word off the top of my dome, but it was fun to see until it got kind of sad to see. What I mean is, it was fun to see the Jordan Poole going crazy, you know, the matchup between Draymond Green and Jokic in the post. Steph Curry coming off the bench is interesting, you know, that punch coming off the bench is crazy. Klay Thompson's getting his rhythm back. That was all fun to see. But then when it all was going, the defense of Draymond was going, the Jordan Poole shots were hitting, Steph was hitting, Klay was hitting. It wasn't fun to watch the Nuggets go through that. I wouldn't wish that against anybody, and that's what makes the Warriors a scary team in this playoffs. You know, when we talk about who's really competing for the championship, we mentioned the Suns, we mentioned the Bucks, we mentioned the Nets, but the Warriors are still there in the sense of when they they're hitting, and their influence, their shots on offense, making their shots influences their defense to play even harder. And that's exactly what they do. Hands are everywhere. Everyone is still rotating, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful game they played today. And they can only get better as Steph gets back into rhythm after missing a month off. And you know, it's just a dangerous game. It's a dangerous series. And like, if you're the Nuggets and the Nuggets fans, you can't really. What can you do? You know, you're without two other stars to help with. I mean, you've been here all year, but when it's the playoffs, it's different. You know, you need those other stars to give you that 20 points. And I didn't check their box score, but off the top of my dome, I can't think of anybody that gave them more than 10. You know, like who was really hooping with Jokic, you know? Or was it just a Jokic show? We're trying to find out right now. Me. Okay, so I was wrong. Like, Will Barton had him a solid game. You know, he dropped 24, but after him, Monty had 10. Aaron Gordon, you're probably your second best player, maybe, debatably, only had 8 on 3 for 10. So if he plays better, maybe it's a different game, you know? But after that, it's like the next person to have points is Bones Highland with 10, you know, on 4 for 10 shots. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how they try to adjust with what they have to compete with the likes of Golden State Warriors. But I think I'm going to toss this series up for the Warriors. This, like I said, I'm not going to overreact to this because that's the MVP we're talking about, right? We're talking about Jokic, the best big, one of the best bigs in the league. You can't really count out a player like that. Like, he can definitely have a game where he dropped 36, 18, and 12. You know what I'm saying? He can have one of those games where he just by himself puts them in position to win the game, and that just will surprise the Warriors and everybody watching, you know. So that'll be interesting to watch. And yeah, so that's day one of the playoffs, man. Tomorrow is day 2, where we have the East. We have the Bulls versus the Bucks. We have the off the top of the dome, the Pelicans versus the Suns. That's gonna be fun to watch. And we have obviously 2 more matchups the Nets versus the Celtics are tomorrow. I'm pretty sure they're tomorrow. And we have one more. What is it? It's a 4-5, is it? Oh, we have the Hawks versus the Heat tomorrow. So tomorrow's gonna be an excellent day of hoops. I said this earlier, but I hope no one overreacts to game 1's matchup. You know, it's a 7-game series. Everyone knows, if you watch the playoffs for a while, it's all about adjustments. You know, who's gonna adjust to what, who's gonna get out coached, stuff like that. So nobody overreacts to these games. Just enjoy the games that we get, and yeah, just have fun, man. I'm not gonna keep it on any longer like I usually do with my banter. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe and leave a like. Trying to build something great, and we cannot do that without your help, for real. These are getting fun to do. I'm getting better and better at it. Like, this felt like, to me, one of my best ones, in the sense of I came on here at least knowing what I was talking about a little bit, because I watched each game. I usually watch each game, but you know, this one I really watch each game, and I just feel like I'm just getting like rhythm on posting these more consistently, and just having fun doing it. I have fun coming here talking hoops. It's my favorite thing to do and everything I do in life. So yeah, leave a like, man, to help us grow this channel. Subscribe, help us grow this channel, man. I'm not gonna leave any. I'm not gonna talk anymore. I'm out. Peace.